y'all, it's Anna with Always Right, and in today's vlog, we are gonna be doing Preptober. So, disclaimer, if you have been thinking about doing Preptober and you're like, oh, but it's so late, it's almost November, like I won't be able to get anything done, I'll just wait until Nano starts to start working on my book. Don't do that. Go ahead and do Preptober with me. I'll have links in the description for some blogs as well as my little Preptober video I did. But right now what I'm doing is I am brewing my coffee and I'm going to print out a checklist for myself so that I can optimize my time. Now, I am going to be spending probably a week or two doing Preptober. This isn't going to just be a one-day thing, but even one day of prep is better than no prep for Nano. So, like I said again, if you've been intimidated, you've been kind of wishy-washy, you've been going back and forth, and you just don't really know if you really want to do Preptober, this is your sign. Do Preptober. I'm turning my computers on. I have my printer, and we're gonna print my document. Yeah, it only cut off a bit. As you can see, that's like where it cut off. My printer cut off like the last line on this, but that's okay, because it's just like the journal stuff, and I don't really plan on journaling that much. So, back to the coffee. For this very eventful day, I'm actually gonna try like a new breakfast item. And that is the authentic Belgian waffles, original from Oak Run Farm Bakery. I bought them at Walmart, and it comes like with a pack of 6. And they're individually wrapped. You pop them in the toaster, and then they're ready to go. So I don't have my usual fruit and whipped cream that I would eat with them. However, I do have some like log cabin syrup, and that'll do. Ooh, it smells good. Yeah, it's your breakfast. Oh, mama. Ah. And there's my dog. Did you eat your frittata? Such a good girl. Okay, so I had my breakfast. It was very yummy. I have my second cup of coffee, so we're going strong. We're ready to conquer this Preptober stuff. So I am going to do everything except for the journaling on this list, preferably today. We got a long day ahead of us. That's all right. It's gonna be productive and it's gonna be good. If you need some help with Preptober, I have a link to this exact PDF down in the description below. So for today's Preptober, I am going to be focusing on the book portion of Preptober. I'm not going to be doing a lot of like the me side of Preptober. I'm going to wait until probably the week before to do that, just so everything's in place, because otherwise I will eat all the frozen food, you know, because that's like my main source of food. Anyway, the first thing on this NaNoWriMo Preptober schedule, and if you couldn't tell, this is laid out in a similar fashion to a calendar. This is kind of a thing you can do one a day if you started Preptober like on the 1st, but that's not me. So let's see how many I can get done today. The very first box is announce your word count goal. Announce. Okay. Breaking news tonight, now on YouTube. Local wannabe author and AuthorTube aspirant Anna with Always Right has set a word count goal of 50,000 words. Will she complete it? Find out. Now onto the weather. It's hot. It's hot as hell. It's literally gonna be 100 today. I don't think that's what this sheet means. I think what this means is going on the NaNoWriMo site, creating an account or signing in with an existing account. So I'm on the NaNoWriMo site. and it automatically is a NaNoWriMo 2020, and it has all the stuff already put in, and then you just click Save Goal. By doing that, you are officially announcing your word count goal and kind of announcing your project. You don't even have to name it. Done. Also, Harris just gonna squeak. She's down here, she has her monkey, and she's gonna squeak him. Okay, the next thing is decide on your genre. On the Nano site, you can name your project for your Nano. You can put the kind of status, put how you want the privacy, and then you can select the genres. Mine's just a literary. Basically, the first few days of check marks, things on this checklist, you can do just on the Nano site, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I've decided on my genre. I actually know what my story is. The blog that has this, the Preptober schedule, she also has, I'm assuming it's a she, they also have a plot formula cheat sheet. I'll have a link to this blog's like entire plot structure post that they have, because it is fascinating. They actually do bring up kind of Blake Snyder's Save the Cat. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is the Save the Cat one, because that's the book I have and it would just be really easy for me. So I'm just gonna do that. Next is to pick a story idea. I have my story idea. I went back and forth for about 3 or 4 days regarding what I would write on. However, I have decided to write on my kind of darker literary fiction. I was really considering writing like romance, like very light, very fun, very airy stuff. And then I realized that I didn't want to do that. If you're grasping at straws trying to think of a story idea, just think of a classic fairy tale, if you will, and kind of like add a twist to it. For example, Cinder is a retelling of Cinderella, but if Cinderella was a cyborg in a sci-fi future where the moon is colonized by people that can kind of use magic. We're done with that. So, write a synopsis. That's gonna be hard. So, I Googled synopsis to make sure I was on the right page, and I found the Readsy blog, and it says a synopsis is a summary of a book that familiarizes the reader with the plot and how it unfolds. So on Nano, you can share your synopsis if you'd like. Personally, I am not going to do that, but I am going to open my Scrivener file. I'm going to start new project. Under notes, I'm creating a new document and I'm going to call it synopsis. So I'm reading the Readsy blog post that talks about a synopsis, and it says that the ideal length for the synopsis varies from project to project, but some authors recommend keeping it to 500 words. Your synopsis should include a complete narrative arc, your own voice and unique elements of your story, and the ending or resolution. So I'm going to write about a 300-word synopsis. It won't be bad. We can do it. Also, no, I don't think I'm going to write in here a lot. It is a very nice, very bright room. That's one of the reasons I'm in here. And it also has like a lot of things in here, which is bad for me because I am hyper, like, ooh, what's that kind of a person. So this won't be my writing setup for my vlogs very often, but I just thought it was a nice change of pace. So here we are. There's 4 steps to writing a synopsis, and this is on the Readsy blog, and it says, get the basics down first, highlight what's unique, edit for clarity and access, and then make sure it flows, which, I mean, the last 2 really don't matter as much since this is a synopsis for us as of right now. It says on the get the basics down, just start with the major plot points, the inciting incident, the rising action, the climax, and the resolution. Okay, I'm gonna get writing it. Okay, so it should cover the bases, do that. Oh my God. Okay, so I had my story idea and it's kind of inspired by a story that I heard, kind of like a conspiracy that I heard going around West Texas. I'm really, really happy with this synopsis. My synopsis ended up being 285 words. I have literal chills on my arms because it's so interesting. It's so riveting. And I know that's like me fluffing my own ego, but it's like I've had this idea in my head for a year and a half now, easily. And I've been kind of playing with it on the side, you know, and I wasn't writing my other original Feathers project. I like it. I really like this. It definitely has a more thrillery vibe, which kind of sucks because I don't read a lot of thrillers. So I have 2 books that I've decided I want to read before I write this, or before I start it or read it while I'm writing this, you know. So, synopsis is done. Decide on your point of view. Now, point of view is huge. My first book I wrote was in 3rd person, and it worked because it was kind of an examination of society. It wasn't so much like the woes of one character necessarily, it was kind of the woes of the society she was born into. This book is definitely the woes of one character. And I think I'm going to do this in 1st person. And I am doing it past tense because that is my preferred tense for writing. So I'm very satisfied with my first week or whatever of my prepping. So by doing this, writing a synopsis, I was able to solidify and kind of logic out the steps without fully outlining. So I'm very happy with that. The next week, it starts out with make a list of topics to research. So I'm gonna go into my research section on my Scrivener file. So I'm not going to say out loud what my research is because I feel like that'll ruin the entire plot for my book for you. It says make a list, so that's what I'm doing. This doesn't get the FBI's attention. I don't know what will. Next, it says visualize a breathtaking story setting. For my visualize a breathtaking story setting, my story setting is not going to necessarily be breathtaking. It's going to be a fake town. Okay, next step is to start developing the character. So I'm going to create a character sheet. So I have my main character, her character sheet is created. I have her first name, her last name, her age, her physical description, kind of her goals, her personality nailed down. We're about halfway done with that week. Brainstorm how to get unstuck. Now, I think this is referring to how to get unstuck from like writer's block. I don't know. I guess I just will create like a notes thing with like the title, How to Get Unstuck or whatever. How I'm interpreting the how to get unstuck thing is kind of like things to remember when you're writing, if that makes sense. I think it's something to look at in case you just don't know where to go with your book. I'm gonna call that good. I'm gonna call it decent at least. I have 5 things to help get me unstuck. So I'm going to mark that as done. The next step suggestion is outline your top 10 scenes. Holy shit, that's a lot. 10 scenes. Okay. That's basically like outline 10 chapters so you don't get like stuck. This would be interesting because I've never outlined like that. I usually outline 3 chapters in advance because I am kind of a discovery writer. I'm like a planner and a pantser combined. We'll try it. I absolutely love how casual like some of these things are. It's like decide on your genre, decide on your point of view, and then it's like outline 10 chapters. Well, I'm through outlining 4 chapters and I think I need to get my book out for Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Like, I'm happy with my book idea. I think it's an interesting book idea. I know it can go the length for a novel. I just don't know what to put in this middle bit. For my first book, it was pretty easy kind of like to pick the promise of the premise. I'm gonna get my book and I'm gonna outline according to the plot structure, if that makes sense to you, instead of just sitting here and getting stuck on my second act already. It feels like I just planned out a marathon and ran it with my mind. I can officially say I've outlined my top 10 scenes, aka I outlined my first 10 chapters. I made it into Act 2 this way, which means yay for a lot of very short, a lot of chapters. Here, let me show you. Here are my 10 chapters I've outlined. I did collapse a few of the folders because they're kind of giveaway folders. Done. What's next? Make plans to... COVID says no. Okay, so we're on to the third week. And the third week looks pretty easy, pretty basic. The first thing on the third week is to make a list of character names. So I'm gonna go to notes and I'm going to create a list of character names. So for the names, I'm gonna pull out my yearbook and I'm going to just write down names. So my battery died, but I did go through the entire yearbook and I was able to get a nice list of names. I have a list of male first names, female first names, or feminine, masculine, whatever you want to call it, and then a list of last names. So I picked out the ones that weren't just like super basic, you know, because there were a lot of James, a lot of Charles, a lot of Dons. It's from the 50s, so it's not really that surprising. I am officially done with making a list of my character names. The next thing on the Preptober schedule is to visualize your characters at 3 points in the story, which I did. So I'm going to mark that as done. That's what I was doing when I was outlining 10 scenes. And then it says, work on your character's developmental arc. Confession time, I very rarely go into my first drafts knowing kind of the theme for the book or the kind of character arcs, which sounds really bad because it's like, wait, is your character doing anything besides just being there? And it's kind of like, it's iffy. So I'm going to put a question mark on this and I'll come back to it. Next, it says collect some inspirational prompts, images, and quotations, which I don't really use, so I'm going to put an X on that. I usually just don't do like inspirational stuff. If I need inspiration, I'll usually watch AuthorTube. Next, expand your synopsis or your outline. That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be really hard for me. Because the only thing I could really see doing to expand my synopsis or my outline is to go through Save the Cat and write down all of the plot points that this would hit, you know? And I guess I might do that. I guess that's kind of what it means. I learned my lesson from my first draft of my first book, and that is to have setup. It's so much easier to cut down on over setting up your story than it is to sit down and add more setup, because that's what I'm doing in my first book right now, is I'm messing with the setup and it's a pain. I know that on this list, it does have an outlined your ending, which I'm going to leave alone. And I'm going to save that for that checklist. I can't believe I'm almost done with the checklist because basically I have 1 full week left. I'm going to go through and outline the plot points for Save the Cat. So I have outlined 12 full chapters. That's a lot for me. While I was outlining, I came up with my theme. I came up with a few plot twists that I think would be interesting. I'm going to mark off on my sheet that I have expanded my synopsis or my outline because I really did do a decent number on my outline. Kind of the chapters that I have ahead of me are the kind of filler fun and games chapters. And I really don't know what to do for those. That's gonna be difficult. The premise isn't as cut and dry as my first one, because the first one it was kind of like, here's the premise, you know, here's the fun and games. And in this one, it's not really fun and games. I think it could just be kind of this girl outsmarting the bad guys and staying alive that way. I think that might just be kind of the fun and games premise. And I don't have Act 2 outlined just yet, but I do have the concept written down for the fun and games premise, and I kind of have an idea for the midpoint. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to mark off that I have expanded my outline. Next is plan ways to get more free time in November. And I guess I can just talk to you, well, about my plans for that. And that's literally just to stop playing video games for that month. That's what I did in June when I finished my draft of my first book. For me, it's not that hard, especially with lockdown and all that. And I just plan on kind of eating smaller meals and not cooking, because cooking takes so long. So I'm not gonna do that. So I'd say that that plan is done. Next, make a list of things you love in stories. I'm done writing the things I love. They're pretty kind of basic. It's like decently smart main characters that do logical things, characters working together, plot twists with good setup, surprise endings, not always happy endings, small threads that lead to really good payoffs. So happy with that. I'm going to mark that as done. Next is to visualize an exciting plot twist. I did that when I was kind of expanding. I have 3 big plot twists that are really interesting. The next on the schedule is to create a rough timeline for your character. I think the timeline is going to take place over a year and a half-ish. So I'm gonna write that on the synopsis, which I know is not the right place, but I'm writing it there anyway. Next on the schedule is to ask a friend for a story dare, and I don't know what a story dare is, so let's look it up. Okay, so a writing dare, come to find out, is might be a line, a secret, a character, an animal, an event. The list goes on. Your challenge is to include as many or as few of them in your story as you want. So it's kind of like me looking to you and going, I dare you to write about an alcoholic. You know, I dare you to write in a romance that ends poorly. I dare you to write in someone breaking a leg. I dare you to write in someone getting into their dream college. Like, it doesn't have to just be negative. Those are just the examples that I can think of. I'll do that during Nano. The next thing on the schedule is to outline your ending. And what I'm going to do is I am going to outline the ending based on Save the Cat. It has a very good breakdown on how the ending should take place, kind of the order, kind of that kind of stuff. But I need to outline the ending, and I'm gonna do that because that's something that was actually on my list to do, was to outline the ending. So I'm gonna go do it. I have officially outlined the ending to the story. It's not solid, it's not very good outlining, but it's done. I can mark that off. I'm done. Okay, I'm gonna mark it. Next on the schedule is to plan a writing routine and schedule. Earlier in the last week on this schedule, it had plan ways to get more free time in November. And one thing that I've done, and I forgot about it until just now, is I've been very aggressively editing my AuthorTube videos that I've pre-recorded so that come November, I don't have to edit a single AuthorTube video. I'll just have weekly vlogs from NaNoWriMo, and that's pretty easy. But my writing routine and schedule is going to be almost the exact same writing routine and schedule that I had in June to write the 60,000 words for my first draft of my first book. And that schedule is basically wake up, make a coffee, go sit down at my breakfast nook in there. So write for 45 minutes to 90 minutes, do some work, then around 3:30, write for another 45, 60 minutes, and then work until about 7, get ready for bed, eat dinner, and then write from 10 to 11:30, and then go to sleep. And this is a schedule I know is sustainable for me, and I know it's achievable. And the last two are kind of things that I'll do much closer to Nano, and those are set up your writing software and equipment, which I've done. I've set myself up for success. I have my outline on the Scrivener file. I have the bits that I need to research, which I can do later in the week. I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm very tired of this story idea. It's very intense. And then the second thing on the schedule is to prepare your space to begin writing. And my space is already pretty much prepared. The only thing I need to do is move my corkboard so that I'm not distracted by my other story. I wasn't able to do all 30 of the kind of checklist schedule here, link in the description, again, if you haven't checked it out. Mainly because I didn't do any of the journaling. And then there were some things that just I didn't want to do, and it's not like I'm lazy, it's like you know, like the make plans to do a write-in. I don't think I could do that even if there was no pandemic. Last year when I looked at the numbers for my area for NaNoWriMo, there was no one, literally no one else. So in total, in this vlog, doing all of this, doing it pretty intensely with like 2 or 3 breaks in between, it took me about 6 hours. And oh God, my brain hurts. My head seriously hurts so bad. I was hoping that I could outline a little bit more. I do have the entire 3rd act outlined. I have the entire 1st act outlined, and I have a note for what the first half of the 2nd act should entail, but I don't have details. I'll go through probably later this week and fill in the rest of the beats that happen at the 2nd half of Act 2. Because there's quite a few, and I know what I want to do with them. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been a very, very long vlog. My computer is almost dead, and it's been exhausting. Don't try to do this the day before Nano, because you will be brain dead. If you're like, maybe I should do this too, I would do it well before Nano. So basically, my session target for Nano is going to be 2,000 words. That allows me to take off 1 day every week and not write and still hit the mark even a little early. And the manuscript target, I'm going to put it at 50,000, but I know that this book is probably going to be closer to 83,000 based on my first book being about 86,000 words. Just for the purposes of Nano, I'm writing in 50,000. I can't believe we're here. I can't believe it's almost Nano. I can't believe I was able to do this much work. Look at all that. All of those have very detailed bits in them. That's on top of all of the outlining I did for the first 12 chapters. Oh wow, this is the most I've outlined, and I'm really hoping it'll pay off. It is never too late to start working on Preptober. Keep that in mind. You can do it. I believe in you. And it's never too late to decide to do NaNoWriMo. So I post AuthorTube contents on Fridays, and I do writing/editing vlogs, which I guess will be writing vlogs all of November. But I post vlogs every Tuesday. If that's your cup of tea, please click that subscribe button. And while you're down there, might as well click the like button. I won't tell anyone. But as always, let's get writing. Bye. I can hold this. Yes, Hera. I'm not mad, baby. She thinks I'm mad. Oh, my little baby.